Right. Now, let's quickly go to look at the newspaper headlines. And I will begin with the Nation newspaper. The major story here, insecurity, Tinubu vows to use state power to secure Nigerians. Federal government procures 51 air platforms to fight terrorism, banditry, change in military doctrines, practices, a must. Those are some riders following that story. And then on the top corner, we have 7 oil-producing states get 70.3 billion naira FAAC windfall. Delta receives highest allocation of 23 billion naira for June. Then another story here, Emefiele's arraignment set for Tuesday. London court orders confiscation of $130 million from Ibori, risks 8-year jail term, ex-governor vows appeal. Article 2 presidential elections petitions court declare me winner because of 21 states' results. Obi, Labour Party, PDP insists APC candidate deputy not qualified. And finally, on the front page of The Nation, Aketi Dekankwe says wife on governor's birthday. Who has what story here?
So I have the major headline on insecurity challenges. So our president, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. It's still, I'm still getting used to not putting Asiwaju, because when you put president, you don't need to put Asiwaju.
Well, the title still remains, but for now, he's President Bola
Tinubu vows to use state security to secure Nigerians. He spoke about the fact that he's, as commander-in-chief, is prioritizing and he plans to deploy the entire machinery of the state to ensure security of people and property. He also mentioned giving accolades to his predecessor, working tirelessly towards necessary reforms to enhance the security infrastructure, but he said we must now pick up the pace, and he mentioned the collaboration between Nigeria and Chad being very important in being able to aid this improved security. Speaking through Special Advisor on Special Duties and Communication, Mr. Dele Alake, he said that Nigeria must be brave enough to reform the military doctrines and practice, that if we do not face conventional army on the traditional field of battle, we cannot contend, if we don't change the system, because currently what our army is trained to do is conventional battle. You know, you're fighting someone that you can see, but now we're fighting people that are using mobile phones, elusive, irregular forces, and it's not the usual warfare. So we must change how we are approaching it. Well, we're really, every Nigerian is concerned about insecurity. So anything we hear, we're just waiting to see results show up concerning this.
True, true. So I want to quickly take this story on the 7 oil-producing states getting 70.3 billion naira federal allocation, account allocation committee, Federation Account Allocation Committee. And 7 states, oil-producing states, were said to have gotten a combined check valued at 70.408 billion, being the allocation for the June 2023 revenue distribution by the Federation Account Allocation Committee on Thursday. And they said, according to the report, Edo State got the highest. Ondo followed, Anambra State also followed. And the remaining oil-producing states, Abia, Imo, also received some monies. Now, we are at a time or at a point where Nigerians are going through a tough time, as it is, because of the fuel subsidy removal. And so persons are beginning to ask questions, or persons are saying, begin to ask your governors, these allocations, how are you spending the money, such that it gets to the very last person in the state. Everybody needs some form of relief as it stands. If you are getting so much, we need to have some detailed account, transparency with how you are spending these monies, such that it cushions the effect of whatever pain or pinch anyone is facing in the country. So that priority. Yes.
And
yes,
I think
there are
it's
sectoral areas where people are having their various issues. They are the poorest of the poor. Yes, government is talking about palliatives and all. But state governments, what are you doing to cushion
I don't want my state governor to be
Now-
buying vehicles or saying he's fixing houses. I would rather he's putting that money into where it will get to
Now,
the
there
majority.
are some states that have come out to say that, okay, this is what we are going to do. Kwara State, for instance, Edo State, for instance, too, have come out to say, okay, we are reducing the number of working days. And also we are bringing out buses that people can take to their various locations of work. But then, how do they judiciously use this money? It's time that Nigerians begin to follow the money as they hear their states get this allocation. That's the issue on the ground for some persons. Does anybody have any story on any other story?
Yes.
On the front page.
London court orders confiscation of $130 million from Ibori.
Yeah.
And so yesterday, the court in London ordered that the sum of 101.5 million pounds, now this one says pounds, right, which is equivalent to about $130 million to be confiscated from former Delta State Governor James Ibori. And we would recall also, the article explains further that in 2012, Ibori was also convicted in London for fraud and money laundering and was sent to jail for 13 years. And after serving for about 5 years, Ibori returned to Nigeria in 2017. And so this is coming up again after that.
And so the expectation is this, you know, there's this argument, is the money for Edo State or for, is money for Delta State or for the Federation? And I'm happy that we're getting a resolution. Let the money come in. People still appreciate him, celebrate him, and he's still a major political force. I don't get it. We need to really, we need to put our money where, if our heart is in growth of Nigeria, then we must call out anybody that has any trace of scandal that is related to corruption, because they are the reasons that we are where we are today. Buying fuel for how much we are buying it right now.
These people, they are the ones that will always celebrate. If you are not benefiting from something, of course, you will speak the way Tokwa is speaking. But there are those who are benefiting, will not speak the way you are speaking.
And majority are not benefiting. That's the thing. Majority are not benefiting.
You may not know.
How can majority
I even have a problem.
You cannot
I have a problem with
You have no idea.
billion. Anytime I hear it, my heart will push.
Let me take this before you move to the next paper.
This was even in London.
The Aketi story, yeah?
Yes. Okay. You're going to take it?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So there's been a little bit of apprehension concerning the governor's health. That's the governor of Ondo State. That's Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. He's had a bit of health challenge, and his wife came out to post a picture of herself and the governor saying, Aketi de Kankpe. We're praying for his recovery, and we're happy that he handed over power to the deputy, so the deputy is still running.
I think that it wasn't necessary, because he's still recuperating. When you see him and how he spoke, I think that, yes, people will pressure you, but you have the opportunity to decide not to respond to them, because you do not owe them that. As long you can share that with
He's a public
whoever.
figure.
Yes, he's a public figure, but then he is still recuperating. He's not as strong. When he spoke, I think it wasn't necessary. He has come out to say that he is fine. The wife has spoken that he is fine.
But is he fine?
But obviously, he still needs some time, as it is. So doing that video for me wasn't necessary as far as I am concerned.
Maybe not a video. But it was just important that
a picture. It's fine, because someone else, I saw an extended version of that video where someone else was asking him questions and all. I think it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. We need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue with the newspaper headlines. To stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. We're still looking through the newspaper headlines. This time, we're going to Saturday Punch. And the major story here says parents face tough times as school raises fees. And some riders. Federal government increases Unity College's tuition. Unilag jacks up fees from 19,000 to 190,250 naira. Private schools plan further hikes, say 50% increment no longer realistic. And at the top corner, we have APC crisis. Oyetola ex-Senate spokesman Bashiru favored to replace Umishuri. I returned missing $8,000 in Mecca to avoid Allah's wrath. A pilgrim speaking there. NFF failed to fulfill promise made to me while on sickbed, ex-Eaglet speaking. A boyfriend abandoned me with pregnancy despite my blindness. Single mom is speaking. Online herbal remedies, quacks, desperate patients take over Facebook as healthcare collapses. Then Baba Ijesha marks 1 year in prison, 15 more to go. Who has what story here?
I have a story on page, I think it's page 4, yeah. Parents face tough times as schools raise fees. So there was a lot of apprehension. Let me take the headline and explain. The management of the University of Lagos, Akoka reportedly increased fees for undergraduates, and is crazy. This is extreme. I mean, but it says here that from 19,000 to 190, 1,000% increase. Well, for medical students, and then those doing studio and laboratory, about 140, art subjects, about 100,000. But it's outrageous. It's so much. So sometime this week, a friend of mine had a panic attack because her son's school increased fees. And when she kept shouting and shouting, we checked and saw that it was just a 23,000 added to it. But that just felt like, Ronke, if I slap your face, what do you mean? What do you mean by just? But then it's a tough time, and then we are calling on the government to see how to mediate, because we won't blame the school owners. I mean, these guys run on. It's not about just bus fees. They run on fuel in their generators. They have to increase staff salaries. Staff members are resigning. They're also looking for how to, better their own standard of living. So it's a tough position for the school owners. But if anything above a 50% sounds outrageous. So I feel, yeah, we've got to. I'd like to know your views, because it sounds outrageous.
But these are government institutions too.
Yes,
government started it, and then these private schools have also taken it up.
Yes. It's not an outrageous thing. Well, the reality is, how are they supposed to fund the structures they have? How? If everybody, imagine a teacher is being paid the same school fees till they finish the 3rd term.
Salary.
They cannot come the same salary. When they come back for the new session, you cannot expect them to be collecting the same salaries again. It's not. It doesn't make.
Doesn't add up.
Cannot.
But do you know we stand the risk of homeschooling increasing in Nigeria?
Of course.
We'll find options now.
So how will the schools cope if parents decide to train their children at home?
In fact, they might go the way of even reducing their staff strength. Because some parents may not be able to pay these fees.
Those things
so how did they run their business? People are in business to make profit.
Do you mean they don't work in school?
Those things, all those work from home, reduced staff strength, can hardly work in a school because of the class size. So if a teacher is supposed to man 12 children,
yes, exactly.
a teacher is supposed to man 12 children, and you say, okay, or maybe 2 teachers for 20 children, and you say because of the harsh economy,
the workload,
1 person to 20 children.
It might get to that point if you want to keep running the business.
The work, schools might hardly take that option, because it just means some children will get attention and some children will remain that way.
Have you gone to some schools to understand how they run their business?
I know it's tough.
People are cutting corners. That's the truth. All right, I have this story talking about online herbal remedies. A lot of Nigerians are looking for quick fix because of out-of-pocket treatment is quite expensive. Yes, we're talking about schools. Now, people are resorting to herbal remedies where you cannot measure the quantities, what is required. And then online, they have taken over the online space where you go on Facebook, for instance, you see some persons promoting their businesses. They now cut out faces of some people using AI to generate some information. Yes. And you think that, oh, someone is endorsing this business, and then you click, you want to buy, you want to purchase things that you do not know, because you see some figures endorsing it. They have manipulated it in such a way that you think that this person is endorsing the business.
So I saw a disclaimer, because I follow Lekpasho's boss, and I love that story of how she lost weight. Some people were using her journey to market weight loss products that were herbal, and she didn't use them. So she had to come out to say, I did not use this product, I did not endorse this product, but they were putting her picture to push. So we need to investigate.
So there are lots of quacks. That's what the story is about. There are lots of quacks. People have to be careful. Yes, you're desperate to find a solution, and we know how out-of-pocket treatment is. HMOs are there. you need to subscribe to HMOs to make things easier for you. That's why persons need to get to understand what HMOs can do at this time. Exactly. Yes, you pay some monies, but on the long run, it is going to help at the end of the day. Who has any other story?
I returned missing $8,000 in Mecca to avoid Allah's wrath. So this lady is a 58-year-old woman. Her name is Aisha Nanuche. Aisha Nanuche, she's from the north, and she went on pilgrimage in Mecca. And when she got to the mosque, she found out that she saw 8,000. She saw a purse, and she just picked it, you know, that whatever. When she got to her room, she opened it, and then she saw money. And instead of her, you know, the average Nigerian would just maybe think about what to do, immediately she went to Sheikh Ahmed Kanuma, mentioning the name so that we understand that there's still good in Nigeria.
There are several.
Right?
There are many.
Well, good people.
So, and the person made sure that the owner of the money was found and the money was returned intact. And when she was asked that, why did you return the money? She said she went to Mecca for pilgrimage to seek Allah's blessing. So if she had taken that money, she would have gotten the word of Allah, yes. And the amazing thing is that she has 7 children. So in my head, I'm thinking about what that money would have done for her if with 7 children. But she chose, she chose to do right.
Of course,
For
this act.
We need to celebrate such people.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other story there on the punch? Okay, let's quickly move now to Saturday Sun. And the major story here, Atiku Obi joined forces against Tinubu at tribunal, lists reasons president's victory shouldn't stand. Ex-VP urges tribunal to uphold INEC's declaration that he won in 21 states. Bayelsa monarch, King Dakolo's bombshell, presidency condoning oil theft in Niger Delta. If Tinubu wants practice curbed, he can do it in 14 days. Interesting. All right. Why couples should have lots of sex during ovulation? Abayomi Ajayi, fertility expert, is speaking. I'm reading what is here.
Sorry.
All right. Osun Court jails banishes 26-year-old man for stealing 920 naira. Lagos to close Alaka Kostini Gomu section of Iko Bridge. Then Southeast, governors Igbo leaders deploy new strategy to end sit-at-home. Army vows to crush criminals in region. CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, to Tinubu, Nigerians are suffering. Slow down harsh policies, CITN cautions president. And Senate may unveil Tinubu's ministerial list Tuesday. Who has what story?
I have a story. Osun Court jails banishes 26-year-old man for stealing 920 naira. And so the magistrate court sitting in Oshogbo, Osun State on Friday sentenced a 26-year-old man, Amechi Paul, to 15 days imprisonment for stealing 920 naira. And so he stole the money in a filling station. And upon interrogation, he found out that he was guilty, you know, of the offense. And he pleaded guilty, actually, and requested that the court should have mercy. So the mercy was sending him to jail for 15 days. And so in my head, when I read the story, I was like, okay, so people that steal more than that amount, what is the government doing, or what are the courts doing to
speed up the process
you know,
of their trial?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's really sad because at the end of the day, the people that have what we consider smaller, they steal smaller amounts or seemingly smaller crimes tend to serve long time. They serve a long term.
The long arm of justice gets to them quickly.
Yes.
Than those who are, anyway, let's
because this article was quoting section, this one under section, subsection, this one under
naira. That is the poverty level kind of stealing.
Right.
Okay. I wanted to take the story on the King Dakolo, who is the king Agada IV of, I cannot pronounce this, in Bayelsa.
Pronounce what you can.
I cannot pronounce it in Bayelsa area, but he was speaking at a book launch, and he said that the federal government isn't serious about fighting oil theft, that they have critical information with the right information, and the critical issues can be dealt with, that they've seen that our government isn't really serious about handling those challenges. You know, these people are in the area, that's what they do. He said that over the past 67 years, there's been mismanagement of our oil resources, that oil and gas resources have been so poorly managed to the point that Nigeria hardly know how many barrels Nigeria is actually producing. He said, so it's like you have a priceless commodity, but you don't seem to care how it is dug out of the ground and how it is sold.
That's my concern. How is he using his position?
He doesn't have power now. You know, traditional rulers don't have power.
Who says?
Well, not constitutionally, anyway.
Yes, we are not talking about constitution, but there are ways that you can influence these things. We have seen sometimes that governments engaged with these people. These traditional rulers. Yeah. So what are we saying? What did you say at that point?
So when he was asked concerning the increasing oil theft, he said that the Nigerian government only needs 14 days if they really want to do it. That he said the psychology of the military and that the military is, he said, according to, let me quote him right, he said that if the president wants to deal with it, 14 days is too much, he will stop it. The same military you talk about are not made of dumb people. They're made of trained professionals. They are not fools. So if the president wants them to be effective on their job, give them what they need, give them the matching orders, and it's not just about coming to TV.
And the president has done that. The president gave them the matching orders.
So
this matter of oil theft.
Last year, we saw a lot of videos. They went viral, videos of how the oil was being stolen in a mechanized, massive way that is not, this is not crude local ways. And there were speculation that security people must have been involved in how those were deployed.
Have we forgotten what happened earlier this year?
Even this year.
Yes, a vessel was found, and the vessel had been arrested twice before. Again. Yes, was even burnt.
Honestly,
and then the 10 senators say we shouldn't be burning vessels. So that, anyway, for investigation and all of that, but it is well, it is well. Let me leave it at that. I was going to take this story. Senate may unveil Tinubu's ministerial list Tuesday. Recall that Nigerians have been waiting.
Hallelujah.
Nigerians have been
please, we are all celebrating, don't worry. It was a spontaneous hallelujah.
And we've been getting few updates.
Just wait till you see the list itself, because we know that lists fly here and there. But then, they are saying that by Tuesday, the list should be unveiled and they'll give a speedy hearing and perhaps screening for these persons. But the question has been that, how do we ensure that we have square pegs in square holes? Yes, you want to just say, okay, ask them a few questions, bow and go. But how are we not ensuring that we have portfolios for these persons such that we ensure that if you are in this field, that is the portfolio you are given, and not just any field, because we recall that the last administration, a minister came out to say that he did not even understand the portfolio he was given. So as shameful as that sounds, we are trying to avoid that moving forward. So how do we improve upon it? That's the question some Nigerians are asking. So let's move forward quickly. Okay, to Saturday Tribune. As to students kick over hike university fees, UNILAG announces 400% increment over federal universities to follow suit. We saw it coming and warned as the president is speaking. Atiku, in final address, says, INEC admitted I won in 21 states, but changed it to 12. Really? UK court orders Ibori to pay back £101.5 million loot immediately or get 8 years jail term. I will fight up to the highest court, says Ibori. Federal government spent 23 trillion naira on fuel subsidy in 18 years. Adeni Kinju, a UI prof, is saying that. Thief from Adamawa court digging for cables at Lagos airport. We can't compare Buhari's government with this one. Things are very hard now. Ado Street Beggar is speaking, who has our story here.
So we took the news on the UK court orders for Ibori, but we've taken it previously.
Earlier, so nobody has any
And also the varsity story we've taken.
Okay, we've taken that area. So
I was really interested in the cocoa farmers story. I have investments in the agricultural sector and we're planting yams in one of my estates. But the story would only, and I think that many people don't understand that there's a lot of money to be made in agriculture, especially with exports. But the information here is that based on the new FX policy, a lot of cocoa farmers will make a lot more money. Now, people didn't used to take their money through the official means because they feel like the dollars that they'll be getting will be given to them at the official rate, which was different from the black market rate. But with the current policy, cocoa farmers would benefit, cocoa prices would make sense internationally, as well as, and we'll be getting more inflow of FX into the country. So I have uncles in Akure that have cocoa farm. So I'm going to remind them and greet them. I'll reconnect with them now because the season is about to become very,
Juicy.
yes.
Juicy.
And there are many people that is a major thing for Akure people. And I'm sure there are people in Lagos that are languishing and suffering, but their grandfather has cocoa farms. In Akure, in those states. They don't know the value.
Yes,
go back to go and find out what is the state of your, because cocoa trees last for years. So if you go back there and probably the weed and all of that, you'll be shocked that you make more money than your salary and blue tie job, I mean your white collar job that you are forming in Lagos if you go back to the bush.
Interesting. Right, I would have loved to take this story. Thief from Adamawa caught digging for cables at Lagos Airport just after the cables and the light.
All the lights
were walked on, so he was caught. He came all the way from Adamawa to come and steal in Lagos. Why do we do this to ourselves is the question I want to leave with us. We see some people removing some of these things that the government will spend so much to do for our own benefit, and then we begin to steal them at the end of the day. We have to leave things here.